Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Talker podcast right here on iTunes and Stitcher, wherever you can download it. I'm your host, Jim Alexander. Today I have a special guest from the upcoming Happytime Murders, the writer of the film himself, Todd Berger. Todd, introduce yourself. I think that's all that's needed for us. Everyone's going to be seeing this movie, so this is the man behind it.
Hi, I'm Todd Berger. I'm the writer of the Happytime Murders. I'm the man behind it. I'm an Aries.
Well, that's relevant.
Yeah.
How does that play into your...
I don't know. There's probably someone listening right now who, though, just said, yeah, he sounds like an Aries. That's something an Aries would say.
Here's the funny thing, Todd. I've been recently getting, everyone's been asking for my zodiac, and I've never had that. I don't know if it's an LA thing. I just moved here from Chicago. But I actually got to a point where I met a friend at an industry event, Mixer, and she did a tarot reading for me yesterday. I had my first ever tarot card reading. Apparently, I'm in the right profession, so it says. And I will find the love of my life in the next couple of weeks.
Which is congratulations.
Yeah, that is the most far-fetched thing I've probably ever heard, because clearly I've been single for a long time. So if this happens in the next couple of weeks in LA, then weird shit's really going on.
What is your sign?
Virgo.
Oh yeah, you're such a Virgo.
Yeah, it's coming
I don't know what that means, but
I guess it's creative or something.
Okay.
I guess
whenever anyone tells you their sign, just go, yeah, you're such a Gemini.
It's like, oh, you're so organized. I'm like, that is not one thing I am
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
As organized. So the movie hasn't come out yet. I didn't get to screen it yet.
No one has.
It hasn't come out anywhere.
No.
Actually, you know what? I got the Chicago PR thing, and they announced the screening of it. I didn't check the date, but already
really?
There's a announced release for critic
cool.
screening in Chicago.
Great.
So I didn't get it yet because I'm not there. But I am excited to see this movie. I remember when I saw this trailer, I was at TAG. I went to see TAG.
Okay, yeah.
And I saw
based on a true story. You got to say the full
another
time.
one, right?
Yeah, TAG based on a true story.
Yeah, I interviewed Robert Kintrick too.
Oh,
Super
cool.
funny guy, just chaos in a sense, but all in the good ways. And I saw it. I remember seeing it in the theater, and that was the first time I saw the preview for this movie.
Yeah.
And literally, the theater was died laughing. It was just the biggest reaction for the trailer from the people that were sitting there, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so entertaining. I didn't really hear about this movie too much in advance, because you usually kind of get in the circles you talk about what movies coming out. But this one's been kind of quiet. People haven't been talking about it. And it was really my first kind of experience of it, just seeing the trailer when I saw TAG about a month and a half ago. And it blew me away, because I'm running right away. I'm like, is Jim Henson, any way involved in this film? His son, in that sense, is this I was just a million thoughts were coming through my head right away. And of course I had to check out the trailer, look it up, and I mean, you got Melissa McCarthy there. I want to know from I guess the bottom foundation. Obviously, Jim's son is directing a film,
Brian
so
Henson.
there's that connection in itself too, where you would think oh, is this kind of a ripoff of Jim's creations and stuff? But no, there's that connection very much so. How did you come about the story for this film, and to a point where you began to write it? What was the initial kind of introduction for you to it?
Well, first, it's funny that you say, because when I went to go see Deadpool 2, because I knew the trailer was in front of Deadpool 2. And I've been working on this project for, 16 years now, since 2002.
Whoa.
I'll get into that in a moment.
Whoa.
But
yeah.
I'm just so familiar with it. And everyone within my own universe, my wife and the guy D. Robertson, who wrote the characters in the story with me, and my agent, and everyone I know is so familiar with it that I forget that most people on Earth had no idea this was a thing, right? Because in my world, the Happytime Murders has been around.
In your head,
in my head,
plus all these years too. Yeah.
And when I went to go to see Deadpool 2 in Pasadena, at this shishi theater called IPIC. I don't know if you guys have IPICs in Chicago?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it's luxury theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's Pasadena, so it's old rich white people. And so I go to see Deadpool 2, and at the end of the trailer, the Happytime Murders trailer, a woman sitting next to me just goes, "What was that?"
That's a reaction.
And I was like, yes. And you forget, everyone in that theater who wasn't me had no idea this was even a movie. Unless you read the trades every day and really follow like what's going on in town.
You could have thought it was a spoof trailer too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like a promo for something.
They're like,
too.
is this a Coke commercial? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And I forget, and I was talking to my wife about it, and it's like when you have a friend who's in a band or something, and you follow that band, you've been following them for years because your friend's in it, and you always wonder, like, if you didn't have a friend in that band, would you have ever heard of that band? Would you even like that band? And so I tried to think, if I went to go see Deadpool 2 and I went to see the Happytime Murders trailer, like, and I didn't know what it was, like, what would I have thought? And I like to think it would have blown my mind, and I would have been very excited for it.
Although it's kind of fit, if Deadpool is a perfect movie to have it introduced to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the same sort of content in a way, just different story and settings, but like same kind of.
Well, I just find it also refreshing because everything now is based on something else. Like, if you look at the top 5 movies at the box office this weekend, it's like 5 sequels.
Yeah.
And it's just so refreshing to, in my mind, to have something that's not based on anything. So when everyone saw this trailer, they had to look to their friend and be like, "What was that?" Like, I
gotta look it up.
Like,
right
no
away.
one. That wasn't based on anything. It's not like you could say, "Oh, well, it's a French graphic novel." Actually, it's like no, it's an original piece of IP, not based on anything. And that was really refreshing to me. But to answer your question, the long journey that I'll tell you as fast as I can.
Really long journey. I mean, there's kids that are like teenagers now
Yeah,
that were born when you were, weren't even born when you were coming up with it.
Exactly.
So
oh my God.
And that scale when you put it. Kids in this classroom probably haven't been.
Well, what's funny is like, even like you could probably look back at a super early draft of Happytime Murders, and there's probably like a Pokemon reference or something, which was cool and then totally irrelevant, and then now is cool again.
Right.
That's like gone full circle. But so I went to the University of Texas, and I met this guy, D. Austin Robertson, who's still a friend of mine. He's an executive producer on the movie. So we were in film school together, film class, and we bonded over our love of Meet the Feebles, the Peter Jackson movie from the 80s, 1989, which is a messed up puppet R-rated movie.
Yep.
And we loved it. It's so weird, and we loved it, and we bonded over it. And we had to do a short film for class, so Dee and I were like, well, why don't we do something with a puppet, like a messed up puppet short film? So we did this short film in which a puppet represented alcoholism, and he was like visiting this guy and trying to convince him to drink, and it's really messed up. But
the opposite of what they preach.
But it was really funny, and it ended up being about how like you have to fight your inner demons, even when your inner demons are blue and adorable. But anyway, so we had a great time doing it. We loved the short. And then we both moved out to Los Angeles and separately, but we were hanging out. We're like, oh, we should do something together. We should come up with a feature idea that we can go make. Like, we'll go do it. And we had such creative success with our short film. They're like, well, what if we did a feature that was something with puppets, like a messed up R-rated puppet movie?
Yeah.
And we eventually got to a buddy cop movie. Like Training Day was really present in my mind at the time.
Okay, yeah.
Training Day had come out in 2000, I think.
Yeah.
And it was like, I owned like 5 DVDs when I moved to Los Angeles. And one of them was Training Day, and I watched it over and over because that was Los Angeles. I was like, oh, this is what Los Angeles is like, right?
Well, some parts.
Yeah, I was trying to buy weed from everyone all the time, on every street corner. And so we kind of arrived at this place of like doing a buddy cop LA movie, like Lethal Weapon, but with but
like a fun kind of
a comedy
right.
with a human and a puppet like teamed up, like a typical buddy cop movie. But it was going to have a human and a cop, and it was going to be set in a world where puppets coexist with humans and are kind of the underclass of society. Like people look down on puppets, but they work. They have jobs. They work at the donut place, and then what would that be like? What would the subculture of puppets be like? Where do they hang out? Like what do they do? How do they fight? How do they talk? How do they have sex with each other? Like explore all of these crazy ideas. So Dee and I came up with the characters, and we kind of outlined the story together, and then I went off and wrote the script. And the original intention was Dee was going to direct it, and we were going to do it for like a couple $100,000. Like we're going to go raise money and shoot this movie. And then we very quickly realized how expensive it is to make puppet
just
movies.
equipment rental and
You have to build all the sets because you need puppeteers like standing.
Yeah, and how would you get the puppets? Was there like a location that you knew that created a puppet?
No, we had
doesn't make
stars
it
in
even
our
more
eyes.
difficult. Oh yeah,
We were dumb 22-year-olds just being like.
Good idea,
What?
but no foundation.
So yeah, we very quickly and the movie's just weird. So people would read it and be like, "Wait, you want us to give you money to do this weird thing?" Nah, dog. So we're like, "All right." So we kind of put it on the shelf for years. We tried setting up a couple places, didn't work out. We put it on the shelf, and then in 2007, the Henson Company called my agent, and because they were starting a new division called Henson Alternative, and they were looking because it was the mid 2000s, like you know, Team America and Avenue Q, and
you had a bunch of those
South
movies.
Park, and like all of these Adult Swim, like all of these adult versions of twisting children's entertainment were becoming popular, and the Henson Company was like, oh, well, we have a puppet workshop, well, why don't we do something for adults with puppets? So they called my agency and they said, hey, do you have any writers who would be good to develop something with us? Like, we don't know what the idea is, we don't have an idea necessarily yet, but we need a writer to like help us. So my agent said, well, actually, I have a writer who already wrote an R-rated puppet movie. It's
I mean, what a chance that was, too.
And they were like, oh, well, great, send it over. So he sent them Happytime Murders, and they read it, and they're like, oh, yeah, let's do this. Like, they were going to, like, spend time developing something, but they're like, let's just do this. This is great. This is exactly what we wanted to do.
Right.
So then became 10 years of developing the script with Brian Henson and just trying to get it made.
Wow.
And, like, trying to attach cast or trying to get the money, like, attaching an actor and then not having the money, or then getting the money and not having the actor. And then finally... they set it up with STX in 2014, and STX was like totally behind it, totally loved it. They're like, let's do this, we believe in this. But for years, I mean, it was my Moby Dick, it was my White Whale. Wow. It was like that script that like I loved, and it was floating around there, and people were like, whatever happened to Happytime Murders? I'm like, I don't know, maybe one day. And then one day
the financing wasn't there, the complete backing wasn't there.
People were really scared because they're just like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's so weird, and like it's not based on pre-existing IP. Like it's an R-rated puppet movie, and people were just really tentative. And actually, like, you know, Melissa McCarthy got on board. She read the script, she loved it, she got on board, and really having someone like her get on board was the fire the movie needed, because she already has a reputation, she already has a fan base of being known for R-rated comedies.
Right.
Like, people know like what a Melissa McCarthy movie is. They know who Melissa McCarthy is and what her kind of humor is. And so it's a lot easier than, like, if you got Melissa McCarthy in your movie, you're like, oh, I get more of what that is. I get what they're doing. They're doing an R-rated puppet movie.
There's a brand, there's a theme that you kind of can work around, then you can just incorporate your,
because if it was Happytime Murders starring, you know, Renee Zellweger, you'd be like, what is that movie? I don't understand what that is. But if you're like, oh yeah, Melissa McCarthy, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's going to be like a funny, fun, like R-rated comedy that's going to make me laugh, and like I'm going to have a good time. And you're like, yes, we get it. So STX was really behind the script, and they really were into it, and then Melissa got on board. And once Melissa got on board, they're like, all systems go. But you know, after 15 years or so, I was like, sure, I'll believe it when I'm on set, like, because I'm sure something horrible is going to happen, right? But no.
So Melissa's kind of the key that got it rolling, really.
Yeah, I mean, she really, like, she reading the script, not only like saying I'll do it, but like being really excited about it. You know, she came on as a producer, and like she was like, I love it, and I really want to do this, and I really want to make this happen, because she believed in the spirit of the script.
And that's so huge.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were writing this, and before Melissa signed on, did you have certain names in mind? Like, who would you want when you were writing this? Who would fit that role? Were there people, certain ones, like you had a list, like a top list of people you
I mean, it's funny, because when we were first creating the characters, first of all, Melissa's character was a man. Like, up until when Melissa read the script, the character was a man. But she even read the script, and she was like, no, I could do this. Like, we'll change it.
Yeah. Like,
it's going to be me. I'm going to make this character mine.
Yeah.
But when Dee and I were first creating the characters, I remember even, because this was 16 years ago. We're
know,
like,
that's so...
we're like, you know who would be a good Edwards is that guy from Ron Livingston from Office Space, which was like just. I mean, this was 2002, so it was just like Office Space, that movie that just came out. And Ron Livingston, he's going to be a huge comedy star, right? Because it's all we know is he was just in Office Space. And I remember when we were batting around ideas, like that was a name we threw around, just because that's how long ago this was. It would be funny if I could track down, like who in 2002 were like the big up and coming comedic actors, and now you would look at that list and just be like, who are any of these people?
Yeah.
And everyone who's big now, you never would have heard of in 2000. It was probably like Tom Green.
Melissa wasn't a household name in 2002, that's for sure.
No.
You know?
I mean, she was probably on Gilmore Girls or something. But if I said, yeah, Melissa McCarthy from Gilmore Girls, people are like, what?
Yeah.
But it probably was like Tom Green.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Jason Lee or something. You know, like those are the names at the top of the comedy list 16 years ago.
Yeah,
Times
wow,
changed.
it's changed. So the only one I could think of kind of that would fit this movie, if you had decided to go with a male for that role and stayed with it, I could see Jason Bateman like doing.
Oh
this.
yeah.
Jason Bateman would have been pretty funny too.
Absolutely.
I mean, him and Melissa McCarthy seem very natural. I mean, you can't think of really anyone at the top of the list. You got probably one of the best of the best.
Oh
really.
yeah, she's
with the R-rated kind of sense and the way she deadpans her humor too makes it normal and believable.
Yeah.
And for a movie like this where you have such like fantasy in the sense like puppets, talking. I think very few people could humanize them and make it normal. Like, oh yeah, puppets, and Melissa McCarthy is like basically making them human forms almost in that way.
I think the hardest thing to do as a comedian, which she does amazingly well, is to be able to be really weird in one scene and funny and over the top, but in the next scene you could walk into a room where really weird funny stuff is happening and you can deadpan and say, yeah, this is weird, like and to be able to play both sides of that and to be able to both be the weird funny person and also be the straight man when you need to, like, is really hard.
Yeah.
And I think she's really good at that.
And when I watch, it did remind me of Deadpool in a sense, like there's a bit of a fourth wall, that's being let go, that you can, between the characters and, Melissa in a sense, you can see that, they're actually commenting on what we're thinking at home.
Yeah.
And that's usually that's what I think Deadpool kind of opened us up to, like inviting the audience behind the curtain in a sense.
Yeah.
And, here's the Wizard of Oz in that sense that we haven't really gotten in films because it's almost taboo.
Yeah.
But that, I feel like that sort of aspect really, in today's society especially, it makes people feel part of something.
Absolutely.
And that, in a society where we want kind of authenticity and reality and we want to be, at the forefront of it as audience members, I think that's like a personal touch that's very rare to have, know, and once you have that with the audience, I think you build a relationship and a strong connection there.
Yeah. I think any movie that doesn't talk down to an audience, but is like, hey, we all know what's going on.
Yeah.
I think is really great.
Were you kind of incorporating that? I'm sure you must have gone through like hundreds of revisions when you were doing this for a while, throughout those years, and just thinking in your head and then going back and forth. But were you always open to the fact, especially when you get someone like Melissa on board, about improv and letting her kind of make up almost her own dialogue or her own comedy in that sense? How open? Because it seemed like you would be very open to having someone like that and kind of letting them almost incorporate their own stuff off the page that's not on the page.
Yeah, the reality is like because I also direct, and I've directed a few features, and whenever you write a script and then it's not yours anymore, like people can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
so even
change scripts are completely different movies.
So I can't put on the title page, these are my words, you do not touch my words. Like it's like a child and you're sending the child off to college and you hope everything goes great. And there have been scripts that I've, set up or sold or had made where I've been nervous because I'm like, oh no, are they going to let some actor come in and just change everything? But when Melissa McCarthy does it, you're like, oh, we're in good hands. Like she knows
what trust
she's doing.
built in.
Yeah. Like, and even from the first day I went on set and I saw her actually taking the material and elevating it at times, like, of course I have my amazing jokes and my amazing dialogue, but she also is able to take something and run with it or make it funnier or like go on some tangent, some like improvised tangent that goes over here and then eventually comes back, and just seeing on set, like in real life, her do that was pretty amazing. And just, to see 5 takes and each take's completely different. And who knows which, if any, will end up in the final cut,
What is it like for you now after all these years, you're having this in your mind, and then you see it finally playing out?
Yeah.
You see it happening live in front with Melissa, and how was that kind of feeling moment? Did you have a lot of pinch me moments in a sense, or something completely different that went over once you saw it come to fruition in that sense?
Oh, it's really weird. And for this movie in particular, like, I've been on sets before of stuff I've written, and I've been like, this is cool. Mm-hmm. The wonder of cinema. Like, oh, those are my characters come to life. But with this movie, like, I showed up on set. They were shooting in Santa Clarita.
Oh, really? That's filmed right around here, pretty much.
Yeah, and I was walking around, they had these 2 giant warehouses, and they built all the sets. And I'm just walking around, and I'm like, oh, there's the puppet porn shop filled with, like... When Dee and I got probably drunk one night and came up with the names of all these puppet porn titles just to have on boxes, and here they are, like a team of artists and production design people came in and spent time and money and effort building a puppet porn shop with all of these puppet porn boxes. I almost felt like I pulled a con or something.
Yeah.
I was like, are people? I feel like I pulled a fast one and somehow
actually doing this for real.
I've convinced all of these people that this is a good idea. Like, what happens when they find out that this is a terrible idea? But luckily, you find the right people who are in for your crazy idea, and they all go in on it. But no, it was really surreal because you're like, I still cannot fathom that, especially after years of people turning down the movie because it's too weird or too out there. Like, what is this, Mm-hmm. And finally having people believe in it and say, actually, no, let's give this one a go. Let's see what happens. It was surreal. I mean, it was awesome.
I can imagine. That number one thing probably comes up because, you kind of, the closest thing to these characters are, the original kind of Sesame Street mm-hmm. characters from Jim that he created. But what was it like did you hear any maybe... I'm sure there was a lot of backlash in the sense that, you're maybe tarnishing kind of the vision of what people grew up with, in that sense. How did the Hansen family almost take this, context as you're involved in it and we're so comfortable with it that doing it. Like, we were known for puppets that were geared towards children, and now these are adults who have their own children that grew up on it, but now we're going to go in the opposite direction with, similar sort of puppets, but still the idea of it is the same. But what was their kind of approach to it? Because that's very bold to do. When your history and legacy is kind of based your family name on it, to really like, we're going to do something edgy and go up for it.
No, I think it's a great question, and like, not to speak for Brian,
right.
But from what I understand, there's no law that says puppets are exclusively for children, right? Like, just like there's no law that says animation has to be for kids. And for some reason in Hollywood, we've all decided that like 99% of animation is going to be for children. Mm-hmm. And it's very rare actually to see an animated movie that's like an R-rated adult animated movie. But
I think Sausage Party was like one of the first ones last few years ago that really kind of took it over the top.
And and there's been like heavy metal and like in the past, and over the years there have been things that have been more adult oriented. Seeing. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I mean, there's a lot to cover here, so.
Seeing animated movies, and I was going to mention the Charlie Kaufman movie, like Anomalicia. I think it's called. It's like all marionettes and all puppets.
Yep.
So anyway, you can take things. Characters, storytelling devices, and it doesn't have to be for children, right? Mm-hmm. And like Avenue Q is a good example or Team America World Police, right?
Yeah.
Of like, let's take something that's predominantly known for being for children, and like the people who like this kind of stuff when they were kids are in their 40s, 50s now.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Sesame Street's been on the air for 50 years, like
60s probably. Yeah.
Like, there's no law that says. We need to keep these things for kids. And the Henson Company, I think, like Brian Henson, Jim Henson, he passed away when he was really young, I think he probably had plans. I've read, like, oh, at some point I'm going to do puppeteering works, like, aimed at an older audience, like, not just for children. And, you know, even hearing Brian tell me about when the puppeteers were on set, like, in between takes, they'd all just be joking around with each other and, like, cursing and, like, in characters, right? And it was, like, the super fun stuff. And everybody found that really great. And they had visions one day of doing more adult-oriented stuff. And that's when the Henson Company started this division, Henson Alternative, in the mid-2000s. They're like, hey, we have the best puppeteers at our disposal. We have a workshop at our disposal to make puppets. Like, we can broaden our horizons. We don't need to exclusively make stuff for children. So, like, let's make stuff for adults, especially adults who grew up liking this when I was a kid. And look, anyone who's like, my childhood has been ruined, or, like, tarnished forever, I'm like, calm down. Like, really? Like, really?
You're like grandkids maybe at this point. You know?
So, like, your childhood was ruined? Really?
Yeah.
Really? Like, this ruined your childhood? Like, you're never going to be able to go back and watch. If you can never go back and watch Sesame Street or the Muppets or something because of the Happytime Murders, then
you have bigger
got
issues,
bigger things
for
to deal
sure.
with. You know? That's like, it's like if I saw, you know, I don't know, It or something, and I was like, well, I'm just never going to the circus ever again because of clowns. Like, nope, I'm out. I'm never watching a clown ever again. And it, like, I don't know, it just seems kind of silly to me. But, you know.
But you're going to get that reaction probably from the older audiences, like the ones that you were sitting there like, what is this? You know, like,
we live in a very hyperbolic world where people on social media like to make statements like, my childhood has been ruined, you know? But I don't think
that's
their childhood
more to effect.
Yeah, I don't think their childhood is really ruined. But also, you don't have to go see the movie. Like, you don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, but there's definitely a built-in audience. I mean, I think puppets have been, like, I forgot the comedian that does the puppet.
Like Jeff Dunham?
Jeff Dunham.
Yeah.
I mean, people love that stuff. I mean,
ventriloquism is like hundreds of years old. Like,
totally, and that's based on puppets. You know, ventriloquism, and Jeff Dunham has been an amazing career out of that. So this has been, there's always been a market and a pretty big, not even a niche, but a pretty big fandom for that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, we just haven't seen it on screen. We've seen it in comedy, and but we didn't get to see it much on screen. And that's the thing now. You know, when you get to present it on a big, you know, kind of worldwide audience on a big screen, it's not even a television show that's exclusive. This is going to open up a whole other world potentially. Have you imagined that now once this kind of comes out, that there's going to be so many more possibilities potentially that weren't available before to create movies?
That would be great. Like, that would be great if it inspired other people with the resources to make big, you know, fun movies like this.
Yeah, because it's a unique movie. Like you mentioned, I can't think of a movie this summer that's either not a sequel or very closely related to a certain movie, you know, but I mean, we're in an era of sequels now, pretty much, in trilogies and franchises, but this is a unique movie. And I think when you're looking for a movie, you're looking for something different.
Yeah.
I mean, how can this movie not scream at you?
Deadpool is a perfect example, right? Because Deadpool was the first R-rated superhero movie, really, right? And then, like Logan, I mean, the people who saw Logan, you know, comic books were originally, like, for kids, you know? But, like, you got older, and it's not like comic books stayed the same, you know? Comic books aged with their audiences. Yes, there are still comic books for children, but there are comic books for the people who grew up reading Wolverine. And when the Logan trailer came out, people didn't freak out and be like, whoa, this has ruined Wolverine for me forever, you know? Like, I'm going to go burn all my old Wolverine because they made an R-rated Wolverine movie. It's like, no, it's like, you are older now. Like, you loved Wolverine when you were 9, and now you love Wolverine as a 45-year-old. And now there's a movie for you. Like, there's a movie for an older audience that wants to finally see Wolverine take one of those adamantium blades and shove it in a guy's jaw. Like, that's all we
never
wanted.
saw. You always get the cutaway, you know, and that's like it.
So, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay that if the things we liked as a kid age with us, you know? That's fine. It's like on Saved by the Bell. They graduated and they went to college, and we followed them. Or on 90210, they graduated from high school, and then we followed them to college.
Yeah, because it's a natural progression. You can't be forever in high school.
Yeah, and then they got jobs. They graduated from college and got jobs.
Yeah, and they became adults, and it became a different series in a sense too. But the audience grew with them too, because they were changing the same age. You know,
the people who were teenagers when 90210 started.
Mm-hmm.
By the time 90210 over, they were in their mid-20s. Like, and
Yeah.
they grew up with, they just aged with the cast.
That's a natural progression, because if you kind of dumb it down or keep it at the same level, you know, then it just, you pass it by.
Yeah.
You know, and there's that thing. Now I wanted to ask you about the puppets itself. When you got to see them in the set, how much input maybe did you have into like the looks of them, or you know, how they were gonna, did you have any input or sense like how they would come out eventually or look?
Well, you know, as the writer,
and who would be who, really? You know?
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know anything about the puppeteering community, which is like very, everybody knows everybody in the puppeteering community. I don't know anybody in the puppeteering. So like, but Brian Henson, like for years, he's like, oh, I've known Bill Barretto was going to be Phil Phillips, like the main guy. Like he knew, because he knows all the puppeteers, and he knew the spirits. It's weird. It's like casting, right? But you're casting puppeteers to be these people. But you know, when you write a screenplay, you can try to influence the process as much as you want. You can say interior classroom, or you can say interior classroom. There are yellow bricks on the wall. There's posters for locations in South American countries hanging on the wall, and an American flag.
Like this room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a tray of cookies. You
Yeah.
know? And then when the director and the production designer read your scripts, they can be like, oh, I agree with the writer's vision of what that classroom should look like. Or they can be like, nah, I'm gonna make it pink walls and posters of Europe and blah, blah, blah. But, so anyway, when we came up with the characters and then when I wrote the script, like, there were detailed descriptions of what the puppets looked like.
Okay, so you
like
did
Phil
have
Phillips
that.
was 3 feet tall and blue and had yellow hair and the blah, blah, blah. And Goofer was like this, and like, Lyle and Lucy, or Ezra and Kara, like the different puppets that are the main characters. Sandra White, like we described what our vision of what they would look like. And some of them look exactly how we described them, you know? And then a couple of them look completely different, because just Brian at Henson and the Henson Company Workshop were just like, actually we want to go in a different direction. But as is all aspects of filmmaking, I mean,
you know it's never.
you know, like every precious word you write is not gonna like just because you say the main character drives a red 42 Mustang or 62 Mustang doesn't mean they're gonna go out and find a 62 Mustang. Like they might have other ideas, you know, because it's a collaborative process.
Right.
So, but a lot of the characters, like Dee even did some character drawings like 15 years ago. And if you were to look at those character drawings and then look at what's in the movie now, you'd be like, wow, it's the same, you know? But some of them are completely different, you know? Which is fine.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be completely realistic that everything would match up, you know, especially for that long span of time.
But we had bold ideas, and you know, as a writer, like that's what you try to do, is you try to, but you know, all writers are different. Like Shakespeare would just write interior castle or something, but then like Sam Shepard will describe something for 2 paragraphs as to what the interior looks like.
The feel of
yeah, so you never know.
You know, we need to get to the raunchy jokes. Like, how much was it out of your brain that the stuff came out? Listen, I died when I saw the ending of the trailer when that room when he's just like, just shooting sperm all. I mean, that is the most classic. I can't stop. Like every time I see the trailer, it just makes me burst out. You know, and the funniest part is that you think it's over and it keeps on going and going.
Yeah.
That is just classically hilarious. How much input did you have with that scene and just the jokes and the raunchies in general? How much collaboration was there? Like, I want to know where this all came from.
I laid the groundwork for everything that's in the movie and most of what's in the movie. And then, but it was super collaborative, not just like bringing in, you know, the actors, but like even just like other creative people to help us figure out through production design, like through wardrobe, like what is, if you had a world in which puppets and humans coexisted, like what would like a puppet bar look like that the puppets hang out at, right? And so, just like I was saying a minute ago, you know, I can write interior puppet bar, it's crazy in this bar, but like what does that mean? So during the development process, we would all sit down and we'd talk about like ideas for, okay, well what's in this bar? Like what could be going on? But one of those things would be like, okay, when puppets have sex,
right? You always
like,
would wonder naturally at home, watching like what happens when they do that.
So even like writing the script, like and when Dee and I came up with the story, we're like, well, they have sex in crazy ways. It's not like the sex scene you see in the movie, in my mind, it's not like some crazy puppet sex scene. It's like, this is how puppets always have sex.
Yeah.
This is just what they do. It's like different animals in the wild have different sex different ways. And puppets always just get nuts because that's what puppets do. Like, they just go crazy.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of funny talks in conference rooms about like, well, when puppets, like, what do they ejaculate exactly? You know?
They don't stop, apparently.
Yeah.
It just goes and
There were a lot of funny conversations just about like how things work in the puppet world and like, what do they eat? What do they drink? You know, a running through line of the movies that certain puppets get addicted to sugar and like become sugar smacks and like they drop out from society and live under bridges and just eat like Count Chocula all day because they're addicted to sugar. And there's like this super form of sugar called like sucre, or it's Pennsylvania Red Hot. I forget what it's called, but it's like super sugar. It's like the heroin version of sugar. And so that's like a whole part of this world. And like, you know, we came up with this idea that puppets are afraid of dogs, like because dogs think puppets are chew toys, basically. So puppets freak out, like if there's a dog off a leash, because that dog might think they're a chew toy and run and tear them apart. So yeah, we had a lot of fun just like building out this world and like, you know, using the script as a jumping off point, but being part of the development process with a lot of really funny people. And you know, at one point we even got a room full of comedians and we sat them down and we talked about like, you know, had people throw out ideas for what would a world if puppets were real. And you gotta calm some people down and be like, all right, let's calm down.
They can go off the rail for sure.
But we got a lot of really fun stuff out of that.
That's awesome. We're gonna start wrapping it up. A couple more questions. One thing I wanted to, what do you like to do in your everyday life? I mean, you know, you're so involved in the industry. You've acted, directed, produced. You've done did a little bit of everything for a while. But what are some things you kind of enjoy to get away from the industry, just like you in your personal life that either have a passion or like, you know, something to kind of center you and ground you?
Well, you know, I love movies. I always watch movies. But even now when I watch movies, all I can do is either compare it to something I'm working on or start picking it apart.
That's the tough disconnection from that.
So when I was growing up, I grew up in New Orleans, I didn't care about sports at all. Like, I never followed sport. I kind of followed the Saints because, like, they were my team.
There were very good sports in New Orleans.
They were the Aints. But hey, we won a Super Bowl in 2010.
True. No, they're good now.
But in the last 5, 6, 7 years, as, like, I got deeper into my career and I became more just busy all the time with writing or directing, I love sports now. I have season tickets to Clippers. I watch LAFC. I love
it.
Yeah. I will watch a Sparks game on a Friday night because I'll gamble on it. I'll throw $20 on the Sparks because for 2 hours I can just check out and not think about movies or like creative characters or like.
It lets you clear your mind and just enjoy, you know, what you're
I just want to drink a beer and spend 3 hours watching a Dodger game or 5 hours watching a Dodger
whatever
game.
It is. Yeah. I get that.
And like, I love it. And now I'm just like totally a sports guy. And I like, I'm in 7 fantasy leagues of different sporting, like, you know, sports.
Sorry, NFL.
I started watching
fantasy league.
I watch golf on Sunday now.
Oh my God, you really went off the.
Just because really, like, also, you know, at the end of the day when I just want to relax, also I have a toddler now. And like at the end of the day, and I just want to check out, I don't want to watch, you know, The Handmaid's Tale or something, or a movie. I just want to watch a basketball game. Like, I want to watch this random Phoenix Suns Sacramento Kings game. And really, like, that's what I like to do. I love to watch sports and like go to sporting events, and occasionally play a sport here and there when I can. And I love gambling on sports. It's like my favorite thing. And
fantasy football's for you though. For sure.
I'm into fantasy. I'm in daily fantasy.
Oh, really? That's
here's a funny story. So I also act sometimes, and I act in commercials. And a couple years ago, I was in a DraftKings commercial. It was like, you probably saw it if you watch sports at all.
They run them during NFL season, literally every commercial.
So there was a DraftKings commercial where they showed all of these people, like a guy riding the bus, and he's like, you know, or like a woman at her job.
I remember that one.
And so I am a guy in the backyard, like at a kid's birthday party, and I'm like playing DraftKings, and I win, and then kids shoot me with
I remember that.
So.
Nice.
The New York Times wrote, I think it was the New York Times, they wrote an article about the ethics of daily sports, like daily fantasy sports with gambling and like how it affects the economies of states. And like in the headline was something like the legality of daily fantasy. And the photo that ran with this article was a picture of me from the commercial just cheering, going like, yeah! So the photo that was on this article that went out all over America for the legality of daily fantasy sports was my picture.
Wow.
I felt really proud about that.
And that was a big deal.
Yeah,
you know?
That was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. You know what? At this point, quick, any things you're watching on TV or Netflix too when you are watching shows that you actually like or films that you would recently saw that you recommend?
I just saw. I started Castle Rock.
How is that?
Hulu. It's really good so far. I'm 2 episodes in. I really like it. I just finished the 2nd season of Glow. I liked Glow a lot.
Good show. As a wrestling fan, I kind of naturally.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I don't know. I haven't been watching too much lately. Ever since the child was born, all I do is watch sports and like Big Brother. My wife and I are really into Big Brother for some reason.
Oh,
it's the only reality show we watch, but we're like so into it that we started a Big Brother fantasy league.
Of course you did.
With my mom, and we all drafted members, and like now we're really into it because the winner will get a $50 gift certificate to Applebee's. Which feels like the prize. For
it feels pretty good, especially when you're hungry on an afternoon or something.
Yeah.
That's the spot.
But no, like, I see every movie that comes out, you know, every Friday, like my wife and I go see a movie, whatever comes out, no matter what it is, it's like, let's go, what's the movie this week? We try to go to the art house theater as much as possible. I'm lucky because I get screeners come award season because I'm in 4 unions.
Wow, so you can get them
so I get everything.
I get the critics ones, but
Yeah, and so I watch everything. Like, I want to watch everything because I want to be part of the conversation. I want to know what's going on. So, you know, I saw Mission Impossible 6. I'm sorry, Mission Impossible... what's it called? Oh, Fallout.
Fallout, yeah.
But, you know, I saw Sorry to Bother You the week before that. And,
okay.
I like mixing up what I see. But I love watching movies in the theater.
Nothing changed that experience, no matter what. You know, now we can watch it anywhere, but still, there's that movie experience. I love it.
Oh yeah, and
certain things going away too. That kind of like the quiet, the no distraction. You know, you still need that no matter what.
It's just such a different experience. Of like, honestly, it's just because you have someone's completely undivided attention. Like I'm guilty of. Like, oh, I'm gonna watch a movie at home, and then within 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm gonna go on Twitter. Like, what's going on Twitter right now? Or, you know, if you're watching a movie or a TV show or a sporting event or something, like you're second screening it. But when you go to a movie theater, it's like, no, you're in. You're locked in. You're watching this movie. And I miss that. So I try to do that as much as possible.
Great. So finally, why should people go see this movie? What do you think they'll get out of it checking this movie out? You know, whoever's listening now. I mean, I'll give my recommendation because, like I said, if you see the trailer, it's going to make you laugh like crazy. But what do you think are your...
I think if it's like you just want to cut loose, relax, have a good time, laugh, but on a more spiritual level, you need to support movies that are original and not based on pre-existing intellectual property, because the more successful these kinds of movies are, the more they'll make, which is good for everybody, because eventually we're going to run out of
audiences win.
Yeah.
The industry people win at the end because you have new content.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Couldn't have said any better. Todd Berger, everyone. Thank you so much, Todd,
Thank you for
joining me.
me.
This was a lot of fun. Go check out the movie. I mean, it looked hilarious. I can't wait to see it myself. It's that one scene we talked about, the ejaculation, jizz scene, whatever you want to call it. It is to die for. I can imagine there's a lot more of that too in the movie. So
I will say you'll have to go see it, find out.
There you go. And releases August
24th.
Oh, August 24th.
August 24th.
Oh, that was like earlier. Well, we still have a little bit of time.
Exactly.
August 24th, everyone. Keep on promoting it. Thanks, and make sure to tune in for next episode of the Real Talker Podcast.